In June 1972, two Navy SEALs locked out of a submerged submarine off the coast of North Vietnam and climbed into a mini-sub about the size of a minivan, heading toward enemy territory through pitch-black water. Within an hour, the current swept them off course and the batteries started dying. They ended up swimming the dead submersible out into open ocean by hand, just so it wouldn't fall into enemy hands, then spent the next several hours floating in the dark waiting for a helicopter that almost didn't come. For most people that sounds like a worst-case scenario, but for a SEAL on a combat dive mission, that's closer to a normal day. So what does it actually take to survive days at a time like this? To eat, sleep, and keep your body working long enough to finish the job underwater? It usually starts on a submarine. A SEAL delivery vehicle, basically a small electric submersible, sits in a dry compartment bolted to the top of the sub called a dry deck shelter. When it's time to go, that compartment floods with seawater, the SEALs flood their lungs with cold ocean air through their masks, and they swim out into open water in total darkness. From there, they climb into the SDV and ride it toward the target, sometimes for hours, completely submerged the entire time. The breathing system they use is the real piece of engineering here. Most recreational divers use scuba, which dumps a stream of bubbles every time you exhale. Bubbles give away your position, so combat divers use closed-circuit rebreathers, which recycle the air a diver breathes out, scrub the carbon dioxide, and add fresh oxygen back in. No bubbles, no trail, nothing on the surface to give them away. These rigs can keep a diver underwater for up to 8 hours on a single mission, which means an entire infiltration can happen without a single sign on the surface that anyone was ever there. But here's the part people don't think about. The water doesn't care how good your equipment is. Even in water that feels comfortable to swim in, your body starts losing heat the moment you go under, because water pulls heat away from your skin dozens of times faster than air does. Researchers who studied Navy divers during a 6-hour cold water dive found their energy expenditure jumped by more than 50% compared to resting on land, just from the body working overtime to stay warm. In actual cold water training, some divers' hand temperatures dropped below 8 degrees Celsius, cold enough that fingers stop working properly. So a SEAL isn't just swimming toward a target. Their body is quietly burning through fuel just to keep their core warm enough to think straight, which is where the eating comes in, and it's nowhere near as glamorous as people imagine. On a multi-day mission, a SEAL might go through 3 or 4 MREs a day just to keep up with the energy being burned, especially in cold water. An MRE is roughly 1,200 calories, so that's potentially 5,000 calories a day, eaten cold, eaten fast, and often eaten while still wet and shivering. There's no campfire, no hot meal. It's tearing open a pouch in the dark, eating whatever's inside, and getting back to the mission. The goal isn't enjoyment. The goal is making sure your body has enough fuel left to function on day 4. If you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, by the way, this is exactly the type of thing we dig into every week, so it might be worth hitting subscribe. Sleep is where it gets even rougher. On a mission like this, there's rarely a tent or a bed waiting. Teams find what's called a hide site, somewhere covered, somewhere nobody's likely to walk, and they take turns. While some of the team sleeps, at least one person is always awake, watching, listening, ready to move. That sleep often happens in wet gear, on the ground, for an hour or two at a time before it's someone else's turn to watch. Over 5 days, that adds up to a level of exhaustion most people never experience, the kind where your body is desperate for rest, but your brain can't fully shut off because the moment it does, someone has to be ready to act. And that's really the core of it. Every part of this, the cold, the food, the broken sleep, comes back to one thing. The mission has to look like nothing happened. There's no bubbles on the surface, no fire on the beach, no noise at night. Just a team that quietly went somewhere, did something, and came back, often without anyone ever knowing they were there at all. Those 2 SEALs from 1972 eventually made it back to their submarine, though it took hours longer than planned and nearly cost them everything. Decades later, when their mission was finally declassified, people were stunned that something like that had happened and almost nobody ever knew. That's the job in a single sentence. Whatever you just watched, somewhere out there, it's probably happening again right now. There's another one queued up on screen if you want to keep going.